and welcome to the 2020 Northwestern Pond Turtle recorded training. I am Leslie Bliss Ketchum, and with me I have Jim Hawley. We are with Samara Group, and we are part of the team that's helping to coordinate this effort. Today, we will review the background of this survey effort, go over the natural history of the Northwestern Pond Turtle, review turtle identification tips and survey protocols, provide information on how to submit your data, and review the process for selecting your survey location. This effort is funded by a competitive state wildlife grant, also called CSWIG, shared between Oregon, Washington, and California, with the overarching goal of addressing conservation actions that are aimed at improving the status of the Northwestern pond turtle across its range. The grant was awarded in early 2018, and in Oregon, it includes 3 years of coordination and surveys, restoration efforts, and community science outreach. 2020 is the final year funded by the CSWIG grant. Data collected under this effort will help guide Oregon's conservation strategy, as well as provide valuable information for the anticipated federal listing review. Specific project objectives include determining the distribution and occupancy of the Northwestern pond turtle in Oregon, determining the detection probability for the pond turtle using visual encounter surveys, and determining how the Northwestern pond turtle distribution and site occupancy has changed over time. Now I will hand it over to Jim to give you some background on the natural history of the Northwestern pond turtle.
Thank you, Leslie. The western pond turtle has recently been separated into 2 species, the northwestern pond turtle, Actinemus marmorata, and the southwestern pond turtle, Actinemus pallida. This map was created before the separation. The northwestern pond turtle range is from the southern edge of British Columbia down through central California. The majority of detections are concentrated in Oregon and California. However, more data is needed to know the true extent of the species. The northwestern pond turtle is typically found in ponds and slow-moving water with muddy substrates adjacent to upland habitat with sun-exposed nesting areas. In some systems, it is commonly found in pools between whitewater rapids. Preferred habitats will also include logs, rocks, or other structures suitable for basking, preferably at a distance from the shore and regular disturbance. Emergent and submergent vegetation is also necessary for feeding, as they consume both the vegetation itself as well as invertebrates and carrion. Emergent and submergent vegetation also provides important cover for juveniles. This graphic illustrates the annual life cycle of both of Oregon's native turtles, the northwestern pond turtle in yellow and the western painted turtle in blue. This image is also included in the 2020 Tier 1 Surveyor Field Packet for reference. The northwestern pond turtle is generally active when temperatures are between 13 and 30 degrees Celsius, 55 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. In March and April, turtles begin to emerge from estivation to bask, breed, and feed. Late May to mid-July is the nesting season. Females will find an area with high solar exposure to dig a nest and lay their eggs, usually numbering between 4 and 12. Summer months are the most active season where turtles continue to feed and grow. As water temperatures increase through the summer, turtles are more likely to surface bask with only their noses and carapaces visible. Finally, during October and November, adults will transition to estivation on the bottom of the pond or in the forest floor duff layer. We have identified size classes to support identification in our visual encounter surveys. The smallest size class includes hatchlings. The shells of these animals are less than 7 centimeters, about 3 inches. Typically, eggs are laid in June or July and incubate in the summer sun, and the young of the year hatch out in September or October. Research suggests these hatchlings will remain in the nests until the following March or April. There is low survivorship at this life stage, with approximately 90% nest depredation expected. The next size class are the juveniles. These individuals have a shell 7 to 15 centimeters, 3 to 6 inches long. Depending on local conditions, a turtle this size may be approximately 2 to 5 years old. Juveniles are less likely to be observed as they stay hidden in emergent vegetation due to high predation risk. The last size class listed are the adults. These are individuals with a shell greater than 15 centimeters, about 6 inches. Adult turtles are reproductive at 5 to 7 years old and grow to be 20 to 30 centimeters long, 8 to 12 inches at full size. Some basins, such as the Rose, have adult populations with a smaller average size. Northwestern pond turtles have very long lifespans and are known to live greater than 60 years in the wild. Overall, the Northwestern pond turtle is a shy creature with excellent senses of sight and hearing. Turtles regulate their body temperature by basking, which provides a great opportunity to observe them. The Northwestern pond turtle is not the only species you may encounter while you conduct surveys. Now we will go over identification tips for common species. Starting with our star species, the Northwestern pond turtle is generally a uniformly dark olive color, like a green army helmet. Some may have lighter coloration like you see in the inset photo, but there will be no striping or other distinctive markings. Next, we have our only other native turtle in Oregon, the western painted turtle. These turtles have yellow neck stripes and a bright orange plastron. They are similar in size to the Northwestern pond turtle, but with bright, distinct markings. A commonly seen invasive turtle species is the red-eared slider. This species is characterized by the large red stripe on the side of the head and yellow neck stripes. However, in older individuals, the red stripe may become faded or be obscured by mud or vegetation in a natural setting. Also, note the patterns on the outer shell. There is a serrated edge on red-eared sliders that can be helpful in identification when a turtle is facing away from us. Red-eared sliders are also similar in size to Northwestern pond and western painted turtles. However, the largest females can reach sizes a few inches larger than any pond or painted turtle. Another invasive species that is present, although not as common as the red-eared slider, is the common snapping turtle. This species can grow very large and typically does not come out of the water to bask. Other non-native species, such as soft-shelled and yellow-bellied turtles, have been observed in Oregon, but are uncommon and generally do not have established breeding populations. Identification in the field can be tricky. Looking at these turtles at this distance, it can be tempting to say that they are all pond turtles, since they all look like they are solid olive green. However, with good binoculars or a spotting scope, you would be able to see that some of these are actually red-eared sliders. Good optics are an important tool to help you with identification. When in doubt, describe the details observed and only state a species when you have positive confirmation. Now I'll hand it back over to Leslie to go over how to get started with conducting surveys.
Thanks, Jim. The first step in conducting surveys will be to select a site to survey. At the start of this effort, we developed a randomized site selection process. This allows us to better distribute survey locations across the Northwestern Pond Turtle Range in Oregon and reduce preferential sampling bias. The email you received with the link to this training also includes a link to the 2020 Northwestern Pond Turtle Survey Sites spreadsheet that you can see here. This spreadsheet shows the available survey locations for the 2020 survey season. To see the location of these areas, also referred to as cogs on a map, click the link at the top of the survey sheet here. This map provides a general overview of survey site locations. If you're interested in one or more of the sites and would like to see a detailed map, please follow the instructions at the top of the spreadsheet and send an email to Marie Hepner at m.hepner@samarapdx.com. Once you've selected your survey locations and added them to the spreadsheet, you'll be ready to start planning your field visit. When planning your 2020 surveys, be sure to remember that each site should be visited at least 3 times between May 1st and September 15th, with a minimum of 3 days between each visit. Depending on your region, turtles may become active early in the survey season and/or start estivation before the end of the season. This time range is designed to accommodate the variability in conditions across the pond turtle range in Oregon. Your first site visit will take longer than consecutive visits as you take time to scope out an appropriate observation point with good views of the water body and available basking sites. We will be submitting survey data through Survey 123, but we'll get to more detail on this in just a bit.
The best time of day to conduct your survey will be based on temperature and weather. Often morning observations will be most productive between 8 a.m. and noon. Turtles are most likely to be visible when the weather is not too cool nor too hot, between 13 and 30 degrees Celsius, 55 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit, when conditions are at least partly sunny with light or no wind. If this will be your first visit to the observation site, take time before heading out to review aerial photos, taking note of the water body's shape. Do your best to pre-identify areas with high sun exposure and potential observation points, as well as basking objects. Determine where access points such as existing roads and trails may be located with good views. Review the equipment checklist before heading out and be sure to have your optics such as binoculars or a spotting scope. Also include your smartphone device to enter data. It's a good idea to have backup paper data sheets, GPS unit, and camera in case of technology issues. You'll also need a stopwatch or timer, and a thermometer in degrees Celsius for air and water readings. Plan to wear tan or dark clothes and muck boots or waders and any other personal items to support a comfortable survey. When you arrive at the observation site, silence your phone and then proceed to determine your observation point, looking for a location with a good view of the majority of potential basking sites that are in the sun. These sites will typically be those with a view of the north end of the water body. Take time making the decision of where to locate your observation point, as you will use the same point for all surveys. Make sure your equipment is prepared before approaching the site to limit disturbance to any turtles that might be present. Now we'll get into the details of how to submit your survey data.
You will need to download the Survey 123 application onto your phone or other device if you don't already have it. Then you can use a QR code reader to open the Northwestern Pond Turtle Survey 2020. Feel free to pause the video now in order to complete these steps. Hopefully now you have the Survey 123 and the appropriate form opened up on your phone. I have the survey opened on my computer, so there will be minor differences compared to what you see on your handheld device. The first section of the survey is a reference guide for identification of the 4 most commonly seen species. You can see here photos and general information for the pond painted sliders and snapping turtles. Feel free to refer to that in the field if you need a refresher. Next, we have fields for adding your name and contact information. Adding an email address is the preferred contact type that you can put in this field here. Also, be sure to add a supervisor's contact information under Observer 2 if you are a temporary or seasonal position. Now we move into the survey and site information field. Here you can add the site name. This name is determined by you, but please be consistent and use the same site name for each visit to this observation point. If the name of the water body is known, please include it here. Also, add a site description. This information is very useful, particularly if there are any problems with confirming the specific coordinates of your actual survey point. So please be somewhat specific and include useful landmarks in your description. Please also add access notes to describe how you were able to reach your observation point. Add your COG ID here. This will be the this will be the number followed by an H that you selected in the spreadsheet. Then please confirm that the accurate survey date is listed here in this field. Next, you can select the location on the map. Starting with the Find My Location button to get you close, but don't count on it to be 100% accurate. You can then use your finger on your phone or your mouse on a computer to then move about the map and find the appropriate location where you're conducting your survey. Make sure to zoom in as close as you can. We're gonna pretend like we're doing our survey here on Commonwealth Lake Park, and specifically on this deck outlook. So we will select that point, make sure that that marker shows up there, and when we feel comfortable that we've selected the accurate location, we can then move on to the next field. This next section is designed to capture instances where you may be prevented from completing your survey for whatever reason. If you answer no to the question, you will then be able to provide some specific reasoning as to why you're unable to complete your survey. In the past, sometimes the habitat itself has been degraded to the point where, say, the pond dried up or other factors. It may also be something where there's private property access that's preventing you from completing the survey at this location. If that's the case, please document that here, and then you can submit the survey. However, hopefully everything is going well, and you can answer yes and proceed with your survey as planned. So in this case, once you've reached your observation site, you can then document what % of the survey site is visible to you. Some water bodies may be particularly large or have a very sinuous nature. And so you do want to document approximately what percentage of that is visible to you. Then please document your start time for the actual survey when you arrived on site to your observation point. Last but not least, please make sure to upload a photo of the view shed from your observation point. This can also be really helpful in determining the location as needed. So now Jim will share the process for spotting turtles while you follow the visual encounter survey protocol.
Thanks, Leslie. These 30-minute surveys are broken into 6 5-minute intervals for more thorough statistical analysis, each its own survey recounting all observed turtles each time. Throughout the survey, scan with eyes, binoculars, and then scope to optimize detection probability and ease eye fatigue. When you're ready to begin your observation period, have your optics handy and be mentally prepared for your focus survey period. Select the start time on the application and begin your first 5-minute observation period. Approach your observation point quietly, scanning with your eyes as you approach. Scan the area to detect turtle presence, particularly on or around prominent basking structures or shorelines. Record all observations focusing on the target species, Northwest Pond Turtles. Document the first 5-minute observation in the Survey 123 app. Observe closely using your scope to confirm species and age based on size as they are observed. Document the age classes of Northwest Pond Turtles observed. Also record other turtle species observed. Repeat the 5-minute observation period 5 more times. Scan for turtle heads, noses, or exposed carapaces. The turtle must be seen to confirm a sighting and species identification. Bullfrog heads and other debris are commonly mistaken for turtles. Before conclusion of the survey, rescan for turtles that may have emerged during the survey period. Adults tend to congregate on larger basking structures, often near deeper water, whereas juveniles often bask in shallows. Turtles may float on top of aquatic vegetation or algal mats, sometimes with only the top of the shell exposed, or they may remain in or under the mat and poke their heads up on occasion to breathe. Hatchlings and small juveniles do engage in atmospheric basking, but they bask out of water only for short periods of time as they heat up rapidly and are quite vulnerable to predation. Hatchlings are usually found in shallower water, but are difficult to detect at a distance because they are small and cryptic. Turtles of all sizes may also crawl out of the water to bask in vegetation thickets where they can be difficult to observe, so don't be too presumptive. If you are able to capture photos of the turtles you've captured, you can upload at least 3 images through the survey and/or can attach and send additional images through email. Now we will review additional site variables that you will collect once your turtle observation period is complete. First, we have sky conditions. With a list of options here, remember that you should be targeting your surveys when conditions are pleasant and at least partly sunny. However, whatever the conditions, please document them here. Additional parameters include precipitation and wind conditions. For wind, we are using the Beaufort scale with the values and descriptions including here for reference. Next, please measure air and water temperature. Note that water temperature is optional if accessibility is hazardous. Now we can move on to habitat variables, including the water body type, number of basking structures of various types, including rock, wood, vegetation, and/or other structures. Next, please describe the presence of bare ground or very low vegetation without canopy cover surrounding the water body. This is indicative of potential nesting habitat. If you answer yes to this question, a comment box will appear where you may add additional details. Next, please identify floating or emergent vegetation with approximately 2 feet of the shoreline. This could be indicative of habitat and cover that may be supportive of hatchlings. If you answer yes, an additional comment box will appear where you may add additional details. Please be as descriptive as you can. Last, in this section is the presence of aquatic vegetation. A response of yes will then prompt for an approximate percent cover of aquatic vegetation. Please estimate to the best of your ability. Now we come to disturbance variables. Here we ask you to note if you have observed bullfrogs or warm water fish during your visit, as well as human aquatic recreation. If you answer yes to the human aquatic recreation, you will be prompted to check the types of in-water recreation you have observed. Next, the survey asks if you have noted any human land traffic. If the answer is yes, you'll be prompted to check the types of land disturbance you have observed. Finally, please note if you have observed any domestic animals or other sources of disturbance at your observation site. A yes answer to either of these sections will open a comment box where you can specify your observation. Last but not least, please document the time you left your observation site and concluded the survey. At this time, you can press the submit button to upload your survey. Back to you, Leslie.
Thanks, Jim. So it's the process for submitting a Tier 1 survey. However, anytime you happen to be out and spot a turtle, we would welcome that data through our iNaturalist project. And you can see here that you can either scan this QR code to bring up the iNaturalist project or also search within iNaturalist for the Western Pond Turtles in Oregon project. And feel free to add your own observations there and let your friends know if they happen to be out and see a turtle. So with that, I want to thank you all so very much for your time and attention today. We appreciate it, and we also really appreciate your support in this effort. So thanks so much. Take care, everyone, and have a great 2020 survey season.
Happy surveys.
Yay.